Okay, now we have a look at the acid secretion in kidney. Why? Because as we know, maximum acid secretion occur in the PCT. Why? To maintain the acid base balance. Okay, so to maintain acid base balance, there is a net acid loss by the kidneys and the lungs. Okay, there is acid removal by first is lungs, which you see in the respiration, lungs. Okay, so they remove volatile acids. What are volatile acids? They are the one which can become gases. So any acid which can become gas is called as a volatile acid. Example, carbonic acid, which is H2CO3. It easily convert to carbon dioxide plus H2O, and this CO2 is then removed by lungs in respiration. So that is why carbon dioxide is managed by which organ? The lungs are managing the removal of carbon dioxide. So by keeping the CO2 level normal, they are able to keep the pH maintained. Okay, so what remove the volatile acids? The lungs. Okay, even they can remove keto acids, ketones or keto acids. Example, acetone in diabetic ketoacidosis. So that's why in diabetic ketoacidosis there is a acetone which has been removed by the lung. That's what causes a typical fruity sweet odor coming from the patient's breath. The reason is acetone. Okay, and what about the kidneys? Kidneys remove non-volatile acids. Kidney remove non-volatile acids. Example, H2SO4, H3PO4. Okay, so they are which acids? They are sulfuric acid, phosphoric acid. So these are removed by the kidney. So kidney remove mainly which acids? Non-volatile, by mixing them in the urine and then they are being excreted out. So that's why these two are the main organ. Now where is maximum acid secretion occur in kidney? So right, maximum acid secretion more than 90%, maximum acid secretion more than 90% occur in PCT. Okay, very important question. Okay, I told you that in the class that in PCT maximum acid secretion occur. Okay, so what should happen? Yes, there should be most acidic urine in the PCT, but urine pH remain unchanged in PCT. That's a very strange thing. The urine pH remain unchanged. That means what? Same as plasma. Same as plasma pH. Okay. So that means it remain almost same as 7.35 to 7.45. So despite highest amounts of acid secretion, what is going to happen? The pH will be maintained in the normal range. Why? That means no acidic urine formation occur in PCT. Okay, so no acidic urine formation occur in PCT. Okay, why? The reason is because all H plus secreted by PCT cells are neutralized by urinary buffers. So that is why the pH remain unchanged. Why? Because they all have been nullified or neutralized. So that's why it is an area where the pH remain unchanged. Okay, how? Let's see. So now the topic is urinary buffers. First is bicarbonate. Okay, now bicarbonate is the main buffer in all ECF. Okay, and you know ECF means plasma also, and that means kidneys, because urine is nothing but what? Formed from the filtration of plasma. So that's why in ECF, plasma, kidney, who is the main buffer? Bicarb is the main buffer. Okay, clear? Now what is the source of bicarb in kidney? Source, it is not produced by the tubular cell, but rather it is filtered. Okay, so source is plasma by filtration. So that's why whatever is in the plasma would be available for you for buffering action. Okay, mechanism, so let's start. The H plus that is secreted by PCT cells react with bicarbonate, which is filtered into tubules. Enzyme required is Ca, that is carbonic anhydrase, which is present on the apical brush border lumen. So carbonic anhydrase, which is on the brush border lining, carbonic anhydrase, and that make the substance H2CO3, carbonic acid. Since it is unstable, it immediately break into water plus CO2. CO2 lungs can handle. So what happens is, ultimately you have converted the H plus into water. Water pH is 7, that is neutral. So in simple way you can say we have converted the H plus ions into water. CO2 will manage later, and that means it is being buffered. So pH will not change because the H plus, which is the active form, is now converted to the water form, which is non-acidic. Okay, so that is how the buffer is able to function. Okay, now so let me show it in the cells, tubular cells. Okay, so we'll make, let's say this is the lumen, these are the cells, PCT cells. Okay, so this is the lumen, this is the brush border lining. Okay, so the luminal border. Okay, this is basolateral nucleus. Okay, these are PCT cells, and what is present outside, as we all know, peritubular capillary, PC, blood. So this diagram I made already multiple times in GIT also, you see all. So all cells are surrounded by what? The blood vessels on the back side, that is the case. Okay, so first is, let's start the discussion. You have to secrete the acid, and to do so you have to couple it with something. So that's why each H plus secretion is coupled with a sodium reabsorption. So that's why what is the exchanger here? Sodium hydrogen exchanger or antiport. So it puts one sodium out and one, yes, H plus secreted, one sodium is reabsorbed or brought in the cell, okay, from the urine. Okay, now what happen next is, okay, so this H plus will then react with the, and with the source of sodium, it's coming by filtration. So just write here, filtration will bring what? It will bring the sodium, and also we are filtering bicarb. So bicarb is coming by filtration. So sodium and this H plus is secreted, but bicarb is being filtered. They react by Ca, which is present on here, apical membrane, and then they form H2CO3, which is then immediately broken down to what? Water, which can be reabsorbed, plus CO2. Okay, now this CO2 cannot remain in the urine, so that's why it re-enters the cell, where it can react with H2O, react with H2O and make what substance? Make H2CO3 again. Okay, so it enter the cell and re-synthesize the H2CO3, and which then break to make what? The H plus ion, which is then secreted. So I hope you are able to understand. So what is the mechanism? The H plus that is produced is now being secreted. Okay, some H plus can come from the cells also, and bulk is produced by the carbon dioxide here. Okay, and the bicarb that is formed, this bicarb will then be transported where? Into the ECF by a sodium, this symport. This is a sodium bicarb symport. So what enter the blood? The sodium and bicarb re-enter the blood. So what you regain in the blood? You regain sodium and bicarb in the blood. So whatever bicarb you filtered has entered the blood again. So see this, so that's why sodium bicarb comes. So this sodium bicarb got filtered, they were filtered here, and then they enter the cell, sodium this and bicarb, and ultimately they go back to the blood. So you regain all the bicarb that you filter, and you also regain the sodium, and you are also able to throw the acid into the urine. This is what the mechanism of the acid secretion is. Okay. Now we see second buffer. The second buffer we have is the number 2, ammonia buffer. Now it's a minor buffer, but very important in distal tubule. Very important in distal tubule. Okay, so very important. What is the source? That's the main thing. Source is, unlike the bicarb, which is coming from the plasma, it is locally produced by tubular cells. So it's produced by the tubular cells. So that is why you can make it as much as possible. Bicarb is coming from the plasma. So if plasma is less bicarb, you will get less to buffer, and if you have more, you will get more to buffer. But in case of ammonia, you can make it yourself, so it's locally produced. So that is why it is the only inducible buffer of the kidney. MCQ, only inducible buffer, which you can induce, increase to make more ammonia or less ammonia. That means you can make more ammonia whenever you want to buffer this. So that's why it is inducible buffer. MCQ. Okay. Question. Next we see is about the point. Okay. Now what is the source? So let's start now. Glutamine is the amino acid. It is converted by glutaminase into glutamate plus ammonia. So that is how you are making the ammonia. So this ammonia kidney can make itself, so it can make as much ammonia as you want. Why? Just by stimulating glutaminase. As you stimulate glutaminase, it will cause more ammonia. That's why it's an inducible buffer. Bicarb you can't induce. Okay. Now this ammonia will then, what happens? It react with the H plus, and now it become an ion called as a ammonium ion. So become which thing? Ammonium ion. And this ammonium ion then bind with chloride and is excreted in urine. Now again the H plus is bound to the ammonium ion, that's why it again maintain the pH. Why? The H plus is free or bound, so that's why again it prevent the pH from being changed. So that is why it is excreted in urine. Okay, so that is how you are able to get rid of H plus without affecting the pH. Okay. Now we see the third and the last buffer, that is phosphate buffer. Phosphate buffer. Now first is, it is a minor buffer in kidney and ECF. Minor buffer in kidneys, ECF, plasma. Why? Because present less there. But you know this, in the cell which ion is most? Phosphates. So that's why it's the main buffer in cells, that is ICF, and bones. MCQ. So bone, ICF, who's the main buffer? Yes, the main buffer is the phosphate buffer. Okay. What is the source? Again, plasma by filtration. Plasma by filtration. So the main source is plasma via the process of filtration. Now if the source is plasma by filtration, what is the issue? Again it is non-inducible. So that's why again it depends on plasma level, non-inducible. But one thing is special. What is that? You know, bicarb is reabsorbed or it convert to carbon dioxide, which you can't measure in urine. Ammonia can dissociate, ammonium can dissociate ammonia and can again leave the urine, but phosphate can't disappear. So whatever urine pH you measure and titrate using the titration system, remember KMNO4, you drop it and then the color change, phenolphthalein pink. So that is mainly because of which buffer? phosphate, because phosphate remain in the urine, it doesn't disappear. That's why it is called as titratable buffer. So it is the only titratable, because used for titration of urine, only titratable buffer. Okay. So which is not titratable? Ammonia, because a gas, it leaves the urine. Bicarb is reabsorbed plus carbon dioxide, which is not measurable in urine. So that's why what the only buffer you can measure with confidence and causing the titration, that is phosphate. So 3 questions: main buffer bicarb, inducible ammonia, and titratable again phosphate buffer. Mechanism very easy. Phosphate ions are anions. Okay, and you know weak acids can receive what? Receive what? Yes, they can receive protons acting as buffer. So this bind with H plus and make HPO4, which is hypophosphate. So it has what? It's a weak acid, it can give also and take H plus. Mainly it will take H plus. As it take H plus, it make what? H2PO4, and that is how the hypophosphates are able to trap H plus and ultimately maintain the urine pH. If it become H3PO4, it start giving the H plus, it acts as an acid, but when it is in phosphate form or hypophosphate form, it is acting as a net H plus receiver and act as what? A buffer, not as an acid. So H3PO4 is what? H3PO4, if you remember I told you H3PO4 is acid, this one. So this is acid, this is acid, it is giving H plus, okay, and phosphate is doing the reverse, it is taking the H plus. I hope it's clear. So it is taking the H plus, so act as a buffer. Okay. Now next question. Buffers are not very well seen in the distal tubule. So the next point is distal tubule, DT. So DT is distal tubule. Formula. Now there is a bit confusion. Some books say just DCT plus CD, and some book add even ascending loop. Okay. So they are plus minus ascending loop. So that's why some book do add some. So for us, we'll take right now not the ascending loop, we'll just take DCT and CD. Okay. So what happens here? Acid secretion occur. So acid secretion occur here, but less than PCT. So acid secretion occur in both distal tubule and proximal. So that's why it occur, but it is less than PCT. Okay. Next question. Buffers are more or less few, because most are used up in PCT. Few buffers available as most are used up in PCT. So very few buffers are available in distal tubule. Okay. That's why ammonia become very important. Why? Because it can make itself. So that's why ammonia is very important here. So ammonia is produced to counter this. Although ammonia is main buffer in again PCT, but it is using which buffer more and more? Ammonia. So that is why in any problem of what? Kidney, urine, pH, distal tubule start making more and more ammonia. That's why I told you ammonia is a very important buffer in which part? Distal tubule. Although it is mainly used where? PCT, bicarb PCT, phosphate PCT, but what buffer become very important in the distal tubule? Ammonia. Okay. Now what happens here is, since buffers are few, and what happens? That is why the urine pH becomes acidic, because you can't buffer everything, becomes acidic. In which area? In distal tubule. In distal tubule, called as acidification of urine. Acidification of urine. So where does acidification of urine occur? Proximal tubule or distal tubule? The answer is it occur in the distal tubule, not in the proximal. So it is seen in DT but not PCT. MCQ. So if they ask the question, where is acid secreted? Both proximal and distal. Where is it maximum? PCT. Buffer? PCT. But where is acidification? It is in distal, not in the PCT. So what is lacking in PCT? Ability to acidify the urine is lacking in the PCT. Okay. Now what is the value you can acidify? So right, DT can acidify urine up to 4.5, that is a value called as limiting pH. So what is the minimum pH possible? 4.5. So that is a minimum urine pH possible. So what is the minimum urine pH we people can create? It is 4.5, called as what? Limiting pH. Okay, limiting pH. Okay, and what is the normal urine pH? That is the minimum, na? Normal urine pH is 6 to 8. So don't be confused. Normal is what you make in normal condition, but in case of severe acidosis, you want to get rid of acid, you can go up to what value? You can go up to 4.5. Called as what thing? Limiting pH is the case. Okay. Now let's have a look bit about the acidification, etc. Okay. Now first thing is, if there is decreased pH less than 7.35, it is called as acidosis. It's called as acidosis, and there are two types of acidosis. One is metabolic and one is respiratory. In metabolic, what happens? There is decreased bicarbonate, because the metabolic acids will keep being buffered by bicarb, so bicarb is reduced because of buffering action. And in respiration, there is increased PaCO2, and this increased PaCO2 make increased bicarb also. Why? Remember, more CO2 will react more and make more and more bicarb. So that's why in respiratory acidosis there is a very high amount of bicarbonate. Okay, so low bicarb with acidosis is metabolic, but in respiratory what? And here what happens? There is PaCO2 normal or less due to respiratory compensation. So lungs will try to remove the acid by causing more respiration. So that is why PaCO2 is normal or less. So very simple. If bicarb and PaCO2 less, it is metabolic acidosis with respiratory compensation, where lungs are trying to remove carbon dioxide to maintain the pH. And if there is a respiratory where the lungs are failing to remove CO2, so lungs fail to remove CO2, that causes buildup of carbon dioxide. And what happens when carbon dioxide level rise? They make more H plus and more bicarb, and that causes what? Example, this CO2 increase react with water, making what? More H plus and also more bicarb. They can't react because now the reaction is shifting this side. So that's why it causes decreased pH with what? Bicarb? High bicarb. So which condition there is acidosis with high bicarb? That is respiratory. Which condition bicarb is low and CO2 low? That is, yes, that is your metabolic condition. I hope it's clear. So metabolic, and this is respiratory. Okay, and in mix both things can be seen. Mixed acidosis, what can be seen? In mixed, what can be seen? Yes, there is decreased bicarb indicating metabolic, plus, and there is increased PaCO2. So if you see a condition where bicarb is low, it indicates metabolic condition, and high PaCO2 indicate respiratory origin. So if both occur simultaneously, it is called as mixed acidosis. That is, bicarb is low with high carbon dioxide. Okay, done. And reverse occur in alkalosis. The pH is high, and if it is coupled with high bicarb, it is metabolic, and low PaCO2, it is respiratory. Okay, metabolic. Now write one thing. If tubules fail to excrete H plus, it accumulate in blood. It accumulate in blood, and as they accumulate in blood, what they do? They cause a metabolic acidosis. Why? Because the source is not lungs, that is not respiratory. Metabolic acidosis. Okay, called as RTA. Called as RTA. Why? Because the tubules are failing. The renal tubular acidosis. Renal tubular acidosis. So called as the RTA, that is renal tubular acidosis. Now what are the two special features? I will write, and first is there is normal plasma anion gap, and number two, there is a increase urinary anion gap. That is the main hallmark of the RTA. Plasma anion gap is normal and urine is increased, okay, and I am giving you it is as a homework, okay, because last time also I gave some homework for you people while you are using the app, and this time giving more homework. Why you have to tell me? Because it's a question of physio, more of medicine, okay, and you can send the answer either on the app support, or you can also give it to me by mail. This is my personal email, Ashish mamc@rediffmail.com. okay, I want to know how much you people, then I'll post the answer on the group or mail also, okay, or record it later on. So Ashish mmc, okay, and in case you want to do WhatsApp, you can use +91 9899 529 468, okay. So just want to see how much you people are able to find the answer, okay, that's WhatsApp number, okay, clear. So now RT is nothing but tubules fail to secrete the acid. So if tubule fail to secrete acid, what happens to acid? It will accumulate in blood, causing what? Metabolic acidosis with plasma anion gap normal. Why? You have to give me the answer. And urine anion gap will increase, okay. Now let me give a brief idea about the RTA from physiology perspective, okay. So write a small table for RTA like this, okay. Write here name of RTA, site of lesion, here write urine acidification ability, and here we write the urine pH. So make it like this please. Okay, and hope you are making the notes, not just seeing the videos, because you want to, good memory, you have to make notes, okay. So two types, RTA1 and RTA2. So what are the two types? RTA1, RTA2, okay. Now site of lesion, you know distal tubule does double function, it secretes acid also and acidify also. So we take distal tubule lesion, also called as distal tubular acidosis. Here it is PCT lesion, so called as PTA, so called as the PTA, so DTA and PTA, okay. Here since DT is lesion, it can't acidify, so that's why it causes loss or reduce, both are possible, loss. And here DT is normal, so it will do a good acidification. So what condition? DT is normal? Yes, it is normal in proximal, so that's why you can acidify, and that's why you make a very acidic urine, very acidic urine. Which condition? In proximal tubular, because DT is working, make very acidic, okay, and it can go as low as 5.5. So if you go below 5.5, that is distal is working, so whose damage? Proximal, so which RTA it is? RTA2. In this case you can't acidify, so less or maybe not acidic urine, so pH will be obviously higher, so more than 5.5. So if pH is more than 5.5, it is RTA1, distal damage. If less than 5.5, it is very acidic, means distals are working, and who's not working? Proximal not working, it is PTA, proximal tubular, or RTA2. Clear? Rest feature we will discuss eventually when we see other RTA aldosterone relation, that is the case. But right now this is more than enough for your RTA and acid base disorder, okay.